Good evening, and welcome to Smash Fiction.
Welcome to Smash Fiction.
Welcome to Smash Fiction.
Welcome to Smash Fiction.
Welcome to Smash Fiction, a podcast where we pit fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength or wits,
Or wearing costumes that redefine the meaning of the word wedgie.
Or power so godlike that not even Claire can say a damn thing about it.
Or, oh, just wait, you'll see.
or feminine badassery that shines with such a burning, white-hot, and rebellious fury that it utterly vaporizes whatever small shred of sanity men's rights activists had left.
Word.
And see who would win.
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 No.
Okay, all right.
Do I have to?
Never
Oh
mind.
man, that's right.
Fine.
Stan, you know what? You take a stand, Claire. I'm going to reference this next time.
Never mind then.
I'll
Excuse
do
me.
it and see who would win. Fine.
I think we know it's and see who would fuck.
Well, everybody wins, so you have to be more
Yes.
specific.
Yeah.
True.
And see who would fuck. Fine. All right.
Look at this magical world where everybody is definitely not straight.
Honey, even if the force is with you, it's still thinking about me.
Let he who does not resemble a giant space penis cast the first stone.
If you dare suggest he is not also a love hound who can be distracted by the power of sexual attraction, then you stand in a house of falsehoods and you have sullied your good name with fibbery. For shame!
No offense, sir, but that's probably not gonna fit you.
I don't believe in undergarments, first of all. It is a machination of the government and oppresses my balls.
Nobody has put up a defense of my Nala and Simba tension here. I just can't believe you people. They're in a secluded jungle. There's vines. And you're thinking, Can You Feel the Love Tonight's not going to start playing? Can you feel
All right.
Tonight.
I am willing to stipulate that we can, in fact, feel the love tonight.
Sarah is very, very good at rubbing elbows with people. Is that the term, elbows?
Yeah.
Sure.
Where did that term come from? Anyway.
It's probably like an ancient sex thing.
I want to hear about the pirate fox and the freaky pirate sex.
the booty. Foxy likes the
I mean,
booty.
why do they call him Golden Freddy?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I gotta say,
Yeah.
if they
They're
didn't want to go that
ghost
route, they should have thought of a name that was different.
Oh, God,
their
is
fault.
the worst.
Kitana is very enamored of the 2018 Rolls-Royce series of cars, mainly because they have names like Ghost and Wraith and Phantom, which is her favorite. Because it's a Phantom.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I got you.
I don't get it. Explain it to me. Actually,
I like it as a car.
It's Phantom,
Oh,
Claire.
fuck
my
you,
God!
Miles. Go home.
I love it.
I do not shit with my butt. He who shits with his butt has forgotten the face of his father.
No, this is the worst.
I shit with my mouth, motherfucker.
No.
Miles, what the actual hell?
I don't know.
What?
This
What was
is
the last
so
20
much
minutes?
worse.
I
This
don't
is so
know.
much worse than what I have. This is so much worse.
I don't know.
I'm so proud. You've left the nest.
Started the dissertation.
Were you just writing lightning rounds until you got an idea and then just kept all of it in there?
No, I worked backward for the dissertation, I swear.
I find that impossible
Oh
to
my
believe.
God.
She had a moment to reflect on her inexplicable weakness against red hair, mutant powers, and former cancer patients before she was incinerated in an inferno of comics being better than anime. The end. So, you know.
Wow.
I actually just discovered an equally canonical document.
This is what we've been reduced to.
And it says, and I quote, "Nuh-uh."
Oh my God, I read that fanfic.
You are a worthy opponent, sir.
Two can play at this game,
my
Schneiderman.
Why does anyone like this show?
Everything that Jack Torrance says and does is infused at a molecular level with an indefinable and yet ever-present aura of Jack Nicholson-ness.
Team Darth Vader. I don't like sand either.
Hulk think, what Hulk like eat? Hulk like beans. So, Hulk start with
God.
beans. That is all.
Dan, I'm gonna have to go with a xenomorph.
A xenomorph from Alien.
They're a parasitic alien species.
Are we gonna have any humans from your side? Out of
Are any
curiosity?
of your characters capable of speech?
Hold on, let me like it.
And partnered up with him, most likely currently acting broody and wearing a hoodie. That doesn't actually rhyme. It rhymes when it's written, but it doesn't when you say it. It turns out. I just
Those two
discovered
words
that.
should definitely rhyme.
I mean, I actually researched what amygdalas
Yeah, the
and the lack
amygdala
thereof
is the
do.
memory processing, decision-making, and emotional response center of your brain.
Facts should never get in the way of what is portrayed on the screen.
You know how impressive it is in that Iron Man movie when Tony Stark was forced to build a Jericho missile in a cave with a box of scraps and instead he secretly built a robot suit? Well, if Speckles had to do that, he would also make it so that it could instantly transform back and forth between being a robot suit and a real working Jericho missile, or a coffee maker, or a DVD player, complete with a DVD copy of G-Force.
The amount of times that the boys cry in that show, it's usually because they're making one another cry. It's not usually because Crowley's making them cry.
That may be the most MeganBob point that has ever been made on this show.
I'm proud of all of us right there, by the way. I'm very proud of everybody. That little.
Yeah,
That was
good
one-
stuff.
Yeah, civilized. Okay, compared to others
I
who
mean,
had.
aside from the blatant lies being spit from your side, yeah.
The bar is pretty low when it comes to us being civilized.
I just have 3 things to say to you, and here they are right here in order.
Alright, to Miles, we're not gonna be in a coal mine.
Earth to Kit, we knew that.
This removes all special abilities from her opponents, including shields and barriers, and turns any machine into a worthless pile not unlike Rick Deckard.
Oh my god! From the ashes, you bring it back just to burn him again.
You mean Rick Deckard, Victoria's Smash Fiction character?
Rick Deckard, Dan Bamboozler.
Noted Dan Bamboozler.
So, Kit, do you admit he's good at something? Do you?
Guys, please.
I admit you're good at something, Miles.
Oh, thank you.
Guys, it's clearly Dan Boozler.
The next one I have is Write the Lightning. Because it's like fast and it's kind of like a lightning round and we're writing, but it's like, anyway.
You know what? The more you explain these, the funnier they get.
I figured. All right.
Wow. Jeez,
right,
Dan.
all right.
I feel like I've just been rubbed with sandpaper.
This is a battle of entertainment, and in that regard, Roger presents a much more formidable opponent. For me to poop on.
My essay is titled, Why Indiana Jones is the Best Old-Ass Harrison Ford. Because fuck Rick Deckard.
Amen.
And please refer to episode 41 of Smash Fiction to hear me tear Han Solo a new one. Well, a new one. I put the new hole next to the one his son made for him.
Jeez. I am so sorry to say this, but the mask is basically Carrot Top. He has his own
That is
crazy
a
box.
low blow.
Bob, let's take this shit outside right now, shall we? Let's just go.
I mean, but
Let's
see, the
each
problem
walk
is you take me
outside our
outside
places
and I'll
and
just
then
hug you.
My brooch, along with all my other jewelry, was left behind in the castle when I was forced to flee.
All right, bye.
we have to go do some musical theater.
Mr. Meeseeks, backstage I noticed there was a little control board for lasers and smoke. In order to really hit this next song out of the park, I think we're gonna need some additional special effects. Whatever you can get back there, just bring it all.
Oh boy, can't do.
My calculations won't allow it, no.
You might be wrong, hear the song, it's magic.
It makes me sick, I won't say it's magic.
Not smoke and mirrors, don't fear, it's magic.
No.
You think that you're so fly, your head looking like a skunk? I'd say Toby could help you, but that boy's passed out drunk. And Miss Lovin', she's no better, got you living like a dead, lying to your face because she hopes you gonna get her. And now your
Rock
bear
my
is on your
angel of
tail, won't
music.
be long before he got you. While I'll be here in this labyrinth with my boy below the opera.
And Shang Tsung turns into Stitch.
Oh.
Oh no!
Okay, this is not the first time this has happened to me, alright? I can kick my own ass. What's going on?
There's some rocks in the way.
Looks over at the rocks. Oh.
That's kind of your deal, right? Like moving heavy stuff?
Well, now you want me to throw and punch and...
All right, unless it's too heavy for you.
Oh. Liz, which character was mortally injured in their fight against Loki? And what do they say to inspire their friends to carry on the fight after they die?
Stitch.
Oh, no. You bastard.
Liz, you're cold-blooded.
Oh, you monster.
No, because he's the only one that can deliver something as sweet. Everyone gathers around him as he's going,
Liz, that's...
Ohana means family.
Oh, no. Not like this, Liz.
You are my family.
This is supposed to be a comedy show, Liz.
Wow.
You are
no, that's
my
very
family.
good.
Hear ye, Yoshi. Zzz, I don't really know, but anyways, listen to me. You've been beaten down. You've been forced to work in this really terrible place to live. I couldn't live here. Anyways, I digress. You have to watch your guards eat. I mean, it's terrible food, but eating a trash compactor, I don't get it. But anyways, this is not right. And where I come from, everyone has the right to rock and roll, and that's clearly not going on here. So band together with me. I'm really strong and beautiful. We can do this. Veni Vidi Yoshi!
I love that in the middle you just decided to put, like, the Footloose narrative on top of this thing. Bowser gets this look in his eye and sort of bites his lower lip with his fangs and says, well, it's difficult for me to say this, but sometimes I do feel as though I may have gotten in over my head on this.
Dan.
Yes.
But before he finishes that sentence, can I take my turn?
Sure.
I say anvil drop! That is a yellow for my spell to flood Ninjor's mind with all the most recent philosophy on modern ideas of social justice and intersectionality of racism.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he takes off his mask and reveals it was Mickey Rooney the whole time.
I am the only host with a Romanian parent, and so am the most likely to be related to Vlad Dracula himself, and so the most likely to be... I'm a vampire? I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Pause for Kit to return to her seat. Happy 3rd anniversary, y'all.
Happy
Oh
what?
my gosh. We're into the, I mean, I know it's terrible twos, but it's actually like,
What was that?
What? You have a train, you old man.
Yeah, I have a train whistle. I've had this thing forever.
Anyway, it's been another ridiculous year of nonsense.
What the fuck is even happening that we get to 3 years? I don't understand it.
I don't know, dude, but we've hit our 100th match.
Yeah.
We did our second ever Smash Bash.
True.
We started Smash Metafiction.
Accurate.
And then through it all, our fans and listeners have all been there for us, and we are so deeply grateful for your continued support, despite all the... Thank you. Despite all the bullshit and the random sound effects coming from one Miss L. Logan.
Liz is our blessed radio DJ.
We once again reached out to you for questions that you might have for us, and for the 3rd year in a row, you responded with more questions than we can possibly get through in this episode. So we will do what we can, but expect to hear more questions in upcoming episodes. Let's say we go alphabetically. Claire, you start us off.
Exciting. All right, let's just start with this one. This is a question from Cosplay Fiend. He says, have any of you, because of a match, had to research a subject you weren't familiar with that you now hold near and dear to you? Someone may have asked something similar to this last year. At that time, I gave the answer of Rick and Morty, which I had not seen before, and I now like that a lot. But another one that was a bit more recent that has been a thing for me is Five Nights at Freddy's, which...
oh god, so scary.
Yeah, I sort of knew it by reputation, but we decided we wanted to do a match of it, so I started... I played the first one, and then I watched videos of people playing it, and now I'm like super into the lore, and there's been a new game that just came out recently called Ultimate Custom Night, and I've been like watching all of the like videos and reading articles and stuff trying to figure out what the ramifications of it are for the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, and it's really fascinating. I'm super into Five Nights at Freddy's now.
If I answered the question last time, I probably said Wreck-It Ralph. The more recent one I was going to say was another one that I judged, which was Sweeney Todd. I had seen the Burton movie and thought it was a steaming pile of shit. And Viola, who's a patron and also a very good friend of mine, had been telling me for years that the George Hearn, Angela Lansbury play version of it was like the best version you could possibly watch, and that the Tim Burton version was garbage. And I went out and watched it for that match. Long story short, now I know all the words.
Oh, wow.
It's good songs. Good songs about murdering people and making them pies.
Absolutely.
In terms of science fiction, there's one Battlestar Galactica and one Firefly. Now, everyone kept asking me, oh, do you want to be in this Starbuck match? Do you want to be in this river match? And I'm like, no, I can't because I have to watch them. So I ended up watching all of Battlestar Galactica, and I loved most of it. And then I watched 5 episodes of Firefly, and I did not love most of it.
I remember you first telling us about this. When it happened.
And I can't get back into it. Yeah, and I feel like some sort of nerd traitor for not liking Firefly.
No, it's fine.
You were saying you don't like the combination of cowboys in space. You don't really like that thing.
It just seemed so meh. I don't know, the world building I wasn't a huge fan of. Like the two things of sci-fi and Western, I don't think it gelled very well, in my opinion.
Well, that you're just objectively wrong.
Well, yeah.
There's just nothing that can be done for you
to keep me enthralled. But yeah, Battlestar Galactica. Oh my god, each season had like 24 episodes. What did I do with so many hours of my life?
I do kind of feel like society, like culture as a whole, has sort of turned on Joss Whedon in the past few years, which is fine, but like Firefly is still great, and like people are like, oh, it's not as good as it's hyped up to be because Joss Whedon. It's like, no, watch the show. This is my perspective, Liz, not yours, obviously, but it's still one of my favorite things that's ever been made.
Lots of people love it, just for some reason. And I love Westerns, and I love sci-fi. I just don't like sci-fi Western sandwiches.
I mean, hey.
Not everybody likes it when their food touches. I get this.
Oreos, peanut butter, not together.
Oh, yeah. But again,
Liz,
objectively
there's
wrong.
Peanut butter Oreos.
Okay, wait,
Those
Claire,
exist.
hold on a second.
I don't eat those.
Oreos and peanut butter?
Well, Dan's next.
So no one else has an answer they want to share for Cosplay Fiend's question?
Yuri on Ice.
Okay, great.
Cosplay Fiend was hoping for that answer.
He was definitely, he was fishing for that one, yeah.
You and I have talked on Twitter. I will talk to you any day of the week, any hour of the day about Yuri on Ice.
This one comes from Andrew Young. He asks, if you could smash any two characters together into a single character, in the style of the old Amalgam comics like Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Dr. Doomsday, which two characters would you combine? I have to say, I loved those comics. I still have my issues of Doctor Strange Fate and Spider-Boy around here somewhere.
Get out of here.
I remember I once tried to come up with an amalgam of Black Cat and Catwoman, but I could only come up with either Cat or Black Woman, and neither were really great names for a character.
What is wrong with Cat?
Not a damn thing, Bob. But anyway, I think I would actually combine Dracula from Castlevania with Alucard from Helsing into Dracucard, a vampire who is also a palindrome. So that's my answer.
Nice.
And a very fine answer it is.
I got my answer. It's fucking obviously Stitchzilla.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Would that be better or worse? Would Stitch's goodness temper Godzilla a bit? And he'd be just like a real, definitely always forceful, stompy good.
Beginning of Lilo and Stitch, or end of Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
I feel like what would happen is that Stitchzilla would go on this like rampage of destruction until it learned about family. At which point, it would become a stunning force for good.
And radiation.
And join up with
also
Mothra
radiation,
and
yes.
fight Ghidra.
Right.
Just scream Ohana at King Ghidorah. Blast her away.
Slenderine, because it would be the only thing that would make me hate Wolverine.
Oh my god.
That'd be bizarre because like Wolverine is super in your face and Slender Man is not.
Fanfic.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, just the black tendrils coming out from where Wolverine's claws normally do.
I can actually see that being a really great comic if they have two separate minds still. Kind of like the Slender Man almost is like the Venom symbiote and keeps trying to keep Wolverine from jumping into action and gets really frustrated when he just can't make him be subtle.
Oh man. Well, now I'm definitely introducing the Slender symbiote into League.
Oh no. What have I done?
Kit, would you like to choose one?
This is from Rick Heineken. Are there any guest advocates that you would love to have on the show? Yeah. Next question.
What does the question
Any
mean?
famous person that will have us.
God, I'm okay. So there's a group of advocates that I would love to have on, but not love to have on because I don't think I could talk to them. I love them too much. I would be too scared. I would love the Green Brothers or the McElroys, but
I'd fucking talk to the McElroys.
Yeah, I'm sure you would, Miles. Chris Sims in a comic book match would be really fucking fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy would be crazy. I wouldn't want to go up against him.
He knows too much.
Yeah.
So I would go up against him.
I would probably say the same thing about Jay Edidin. I would not want to go against him in the match, but it would be a fantastic episode.
My ultimate dream get would be another Max Fun person and also general celebrity to have a guest judge of John Hodgman.
Oh my man.
Because his judging skills are legendary. I'd actually want him to have him listen to some of our old episodes and go through and see if he agrees with what we did.
See if you can finally get some vindication for some sore spots.
Yes, for freaking Kusanagi and for Wander and all the other ones that
that was the right choice, Claire.
I would actually,
you know what?
if we're talking about Max Fun stuff, I would want to have Danielle Radford on because she and I would just talk wrestling the whole time.
Wouldn't that be a delight?
That would be amazing. I would love that so much. I'm a huge fan.
Liz, why don't you pick one?
This question is from Jason Alquist. What is the ultimate nullifier of most Smash Fiction arguments? This one is extremely easy and short. Anyone who invents time travel will most likely win.
That's true.
I mean, well, no, because Spock arguably invented time travel multiple times.
That's true. And I brought that up, as I recall.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
What about people who move very large things?
Can you invent time travel multiple times? Can't you only invent something once?
Well, you can invent multiple ways of time traveling, which is what Spock did.
The ultimate trump card you can play as an advocate is being funny or coming up with a really great insult.
A really solid rebuttal. I've seen some of our fans refer to it as argument judo.
Yeah.
The momentum just gets flipped over.
I won episode 50 with RoboCop entirely because I was on my, joke game that night. That's the only reason I won.
MeganBob, it is your turn.
Oh, I gave you that win, too.
Yeah, you did, and I earned it.
Yeah, that makes sense why I did that.
Vander Turner asked, what was the scariest part about starting or joining this podcast for you? Did anything almost stop you from making or joining it?
No.
What? Nothing scared you?
No, I worked on Dan for, years to do a podcast?
Oh, it was a while.
Every time I fucking saw you, I'd be like, Dan, we gotta do a podcast. Dan.
I never disagreed with you. My issue was deciding on something interesting that we could do for a podcast.
Right, yeah, no, I credit you and Liz and other people with the idea for the show, but I credit myself with bothering you until it happened.
For sure. Sure.
I credit my dining room table because that is where Dan and I hashed out this.
Yep.
I don't think I had any hesitations like that early on because in some ways it's not my baby the way it is Dan and Miles and some of the other people, and I know that they're going to be doing most of the work, and I just have to show up and be obnoxious and then say okay, bye, have fun editing that. And so I work on creative projects of my own and stuff like that, and there's something nice about having one where I don't have to be in charge of it. I think the only thing that I sort of get hung up on it a little bit is oh, is this preventing me from doing my own things and things that are more personally me? Because this is really fun, but in some ways this is oh, this is Dan's thing and this is Miles's thing and whatever. You know what I mean?
I get that. Because I came in a year late.
Over a year.
Yeah, just about little over a year.
The reason I said yes was because I knew if I said no, even though it seemed like such a bad idea to go, let me do this thing that I know very little about every single time and will take up so much of my life, was if I turn down the chance to make art with my friends, I'm an idiot.
Aww.
So God, who gets that opportunity in life to do it regularly? You might put on a show with your friends. Yeah. You might do something, a one-off, but continuing to get to work creatively with the people you like. Nobody gets that.
Yeah, it's a gift.
So I was I'm not an idiot. I'm going to say yes to this. And then the other thing was, oh shit, I've gotten to come in and just do whatever the fuck I wanted as a guest and say ridiculous things. Now I have to do this every week, and somehow I can't just make fanfic arguments every time. Oh no.
But you try, Bob, you try.
I mean, I've gotten less so, and sometimes I feel like I've really strayed from my roots, but
That's what Shipwrecked is for.
That's true.
And I will say, like, Smash Metafiction in some ways, collaboratory specifically, feels very much like that one is mine. You know what I mean? So I feel very creatively satisfied with that one specifically, and Smash Metafiction in general. Any of those hesitations that I may have had are not really there anymore because I have this other space where I could just do nonsense that is more more my like brand or my voice or whatever, so.
I was scared. Even though I was there at the very beginning wanting to do this, I call myself a shy extrovert. So I want to do the things. I want to hang out with people. I want to make people laugh. But I'm also shy. So it's deep inner conflict. So interesting.
Well, fortunately, you overcome that on a weekly basis thanks to saltiness.
Yeah.
It's my shield, my armor.
You're like a hawk. They don't want to go cuddle with people, but they still want to go
They
kill
will
things.
dive bomb you from a mile up.
Oh, you're sweet. I'm a kestrel. Maybe a shrike. so small. Not
Such
really
a nerd
dangerous.
joke.
Small.
All right.
Lucas, tell me what those are.
Miles, you want to read one?
I really wanted to address this one, and I already have to a certain extent, but David Waters asks, after the world supply of Nicolas Cages has been depleted,
Oh, man.
who is next on your list to compete in the arena? And I gave my answer to this in the Smash Fiction fan faction on Facebook, which was to have a mash between Luke Cage, Johnny Cage, Xander Cage, and William Cage from Edge of Tomorrow, because I saw that movie recently and it was great. And I don't usually say that.
So rad,
I don't usually say that
So
about Tom
rad.
Cruise movies, but it's so good. If we needed a fifth one, there's even a wrestler from Lucha Underground named Cage, and his thing is he's a fucking cyborg because Lucha Underground's the best. So, that's my suggestion for what happens if we run out of cages, perhaps even before, depending on which characters we're left with.
I will say, if we want to keep it as a bunch of characters all played by the same actor, I think there is a ripe field of Schwarzenegger characters that we can jump into.
That's my vote, too.
Yeah.
I just want to do twins every time.
Well, I thought we would just carry on with the results of Face Off and go with John Travolta.
Oh, that's
a good
interesting.
idea.
Wow.
See, I like that better because I don't like the Schwarzenegger idea because I never liked action movies.
Yeah, they're not my fave.
The reason why we do Cage is because he himself is this baffling figure.
Enigma.
And I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger's is probably the next best thing to that.
Maybe Steven Seagal. That might be a good one.
Who's the...
God.
Okay, so
you mean
is
almost
there...
governor of Arizona, Stephen Seagal?
the very same.
Is there a female Nick Cage? I mean, I know we don't let Hollywood actresses get that old, but
Maybe Charlize Theron?
Oh, she's so good.
I could take that.
I got dibs on her from Snow White and the Huntsman. She plays
I got
the
dibs
evil
on
queen, and
Furiosa.
she's so good.
Aeon Flux.
Claire, why don't you pick another question?
I'm going to go with this one from Kosuke Takahashi. It says, dumb question. What fictional character would look great with a hat? And slightly smarter question. Being creative people, what do you look to for your muses / inspiration?
First one, Godzilla, obviously. And a regular people-sized hat.
What kind of hat are you thinking?
Oh, God.
How about one with a little propeller?
A newsboy cap.
Oh, fuck. No, everything. All the hats. They're so good.
So cute.
I'm envisioning the scene from The Matrix where Morpheus sits Neo down and tells him about the true nature of reality. But in this version, Morpheus turns his chair around and sits in it backwards and then has a baseball cap on, which he also turns backwards. So that's my answer for that one.
So he's sitting backwards on this high back Victorian chair.
It's blatantly
upholstered.
uncomfortable looking.
All right.
I would say that Loki and Thor Ragnarok should have a top hat at all times.
Oh, yeah.
When I want to get inspired, there's a few authors I like a lot for that. Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite writers just because I just don't understand how a brain can create it. It's so out there. And when I watch something or read something by him, I feel this weird connection to the cosmic and this connection to possibility because of just how strange his stuff is. And I really like it. On the opposite side of that, another writer who I like, but who I find much more understandable is Brian K. Vaughan. I think his work is really solid. I also can always see the moving parts. He has a lot of conventions to his work and it's very entertaining. But when I read his stuff, I'm like, oh, I can clearly see that setting up that setting up that. And it's sort of transparent in this way, especially when you reread it. So I find him sort of inspiring in that way because I'm like, oh, I could do that. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Or alternatively, I read a lot of books about screenwriting or writing theory or creative theory and stuff like that. I also listen to podcasts by people like Mark Rosewater, who's the lead designer of Magic the Gathering, just because I like hearing creative people talk about their process, or just interviews with screenwriters in general, like the Q Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith is another podcast I listen to a lot for that reason.
I'm wondering if this question is supposed to refer to Smash Fiction specifically, because Smash Fiction I just kind of go with, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel, it's not that it's not a creative process, but I don't think it's the kind of thing that you really look for inspiration to do. Like, I don't go check out Death Battle when I'm getting ready to do research, you know what I mean? In terms of other stuff, it depends on what I'm doing. I mean, I've been doing so much nonfiction for so long that it's like, you know, when I'm trying to write an article about sports, I tend to go see what Dave Zirin has said on the subject recently, and if it's about wrestling, then I go read Brandon Stroud. You know, it's just Robert Mays and like all these kind of guys that are just really in my zone and generally writing about the same things I want to write about. Is very specific to what I'm doing.
I talked about this a bit on the episode of The Math Review that I was on, but discovering the band Dream Theater really changed the way that I think about an artistic or creative project. They're a band made up of essentially the most talented group of musicians on the planet, in my opinion anyway, and every single instrumental line in their songs is the best that it can possibly be for that song. And so I now examine any sort of creative endeavor that I engage in with that kind of like meticulous rigor. I'm nowhere near Dream Theater's level in terms of skill at anything, obviously, but I really do try to make...
Obviously.
Yes.
Sorry.
But I really do try to make every aspect of my projects the best version of themselves.
I think my answer is probably for spoken word is John Finnemore, who does radio comedy for BBC. It is comedy that is not about meanness, and the mean person in the joke is very rarely rewarded. It's trying to do something very different, and that's extraordinary. It's a much harder joke to write a joke that isn't playing at the lowest common denominator and that's trying to also grope towards a nicer way of being and still be funny. His wordplay is some of the fucking greatest wordplay. He does a short story at the end of every podcast episode I guess it's radio, because the BBC, they actually fund radio. And it is just 5 minutes pretty much of puns and wordplay where you can never grasp what's happening until the end of the next sentence, and then you get it, and then it's turned on its head, and then it's turned on its head again. He's extraordinary. If my brain ever worked like that, he's so good. And then, of course, Terry Pratchett, because, I mean, who wouldn't be inspired by that man? He's extraordinary.
So again, like Miles said, I don't really look for inspiration like when I sit down to do Smash Fiction or anything, but as some of you know, I'm very into writing and recording music. And the music I actually write is not what I write for this podcast. It's actually quite emotional, and
I think you called it shoegazing.
It's like progressive, post-progressive, shoegazy
music.
If you've played Life is Strange, it's kind of like that with a little bit more of an electric guitar edge. In terms of looking for inspiration, this is something you can do without reading anything or whatever, is just looking at people. Like, don't be weird.
Yeah, with their consent.
But just thinking about interactions you have with people, how other people interact with others, like just watching how people comport themselves to the world and, you know, try to put their mark on it. People just themselves can be like such a great source of inspiration and self-reflecting on your experience in the world. Music is great. You should try it. Play anything. Play the shitty harmonica that's been sitting in the back of your closet for 5 years. Do something, because it is a great expression that doesn't really require anything.
Play your shitty harmonica about shitty humans.
You just do it, and then you're like, oh, if I do that and that sounds good. And then maybe you'll have a self-revelation and just be happy, and then write to me and say, oh my God, I love you.
Aww. I'll do that anyway, but yeah.
I have a question from Evan Staves, who says, are there any characters or settings you wouldn't use in Smash Fiction because of difficult themes or subject matter? For me, like, the tough part is that when we come up with a match idea, we have to be okay with any of the characters in it pulling out a win over the other characters. To me, we couldn't do a match of, like, Luke Cage versus the villains from Get Out, because like none of us would actually want the villains from Get Out to win over Luke Cage.
I was going to bring up Get Out and the conversation we had about using the villains in that movie.
We talked about that because they're in some ways they're really compelling, but when you argue for the person as an advocate, you have to be like, my character's so great, they're so cool, they're so powerful, they're gonna beat you up, and like it's kind of like
right.
You know?
There are certain characters that just nobody wants to get behind because they're so fucking offensive. Most of them written by Frank Miller.
I even felt weird arguing for Voldemort. Like even that was a little hard.
I didn't feel weird about that.
For Mordor, and you have no regrets.
Yeah, no, I really don't. But I really don't like Daenerys Targaryen, so also take that into account.
Woo! Miles.
Yeah.
There's the difference between being all for a villain character that you know is like bad in every way, and then like villains that are like the villains from Get Out, because that's too real.
Yeah,
even though what they're doing is not realistic.
Yeah, there are supervillains that are fun, you know, that you like you take delight in, and they're like, you know, they're compelling and interesting and everything. And then there's the ones that are a little too close to what real actual people are dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Well,
context is everything.
Sure is.
And right now, not so cool.
Yeah, well, even beyond that, I mean, there's some stuff, you know, we did get at one point a submission for the Ned Flanders versus the Joker match.
Oh,
and the reason we didn't do it is because we don't want to do an episode about somebody being tortured.
The premise of that one was that the Joker is attempting to break down Ned Flanders and get him to like renounce God in the way that he tries to get Batman to like commit violence.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of it ended up sort of getting morphed into the Crowley versus Crowley match that we had Ned as the subject of it.
Sort of, yes, but...
Yeah, but...
I like how the two actual devils not as bad as the Joker.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's like, because I think it's this thing where once something is removed enough from reality and from our everyday life, you can like make jokes about it and stuff like that. It needs to be unreal. It needs to be not actually harmful. And some of the stuff, when it's actually like closer to actual real harm that people are suffering, it's something you don't want to make jokes about.
I get the devil is bad. The devil was not in the Killing Joke. So, you know.
Yes.
All right, Kit, why don't you pick one?
This is from NP Duffy. What's up, Duffy? This question has 3 parts. 1, what is your name? 2, what is your quest? 3, what is your favorite color? Bonus points if you know airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow. Okay.
Oh,
Which
I
kind
really
of
just wanted
swallow?
to...
Yeah, African or European.
Okay, this is what I want to say. Why not North American swallows? Why are those forgotten? That's the key question. And everyone can answer that question.
Because it takes place in the Middle Ages in Europe.
And also, that variety of swallow was not popularized in a Monty Python film.
My name is to make Smash Fiction great. My quest is green, and my favorite color is Dan. And
that's my favorite color too.
And the swallow thing is a trick question because there's no such thing as an unladen swallow, because swallows are always burdened with a great sense of ennui. So
I have nothing to follow that.
This question comes from Sean Boyd. What in nerd/geek culture are each of you really excited about right now? It can be books, comics, movies, game shows, whatever. Miles will agree with me, and Dan. The Wicked and the Divine.
Fuck
Read
yeah.
it.
Yup.
We talked about this show the 2nd anniversary, and I hadn't read it yet, and now I have, and it's great.
Yeah, it's real good.
If anybody out there is still not reading The Wicked and the Divine, and you like comic books, then I don't know what to do with you.
The art is great.
I don't get them most of the time, but I get Wicked and the Divine. So there, if you're a person who doesn't normally buy comics, this is one where you might want to buy it. Food Wars fills me with so much joy. I would rewatch it right now because it is so relentlessly beautiful and in love with the fact that you get to eat something 3 times a day, every day, and you get to just experience beautiful pleasure in your face.
I really want to watch it, but now my life is such that I only watch things for Smash Fiction.
Yeah.
So let's find a way to put that in a match.
I think I mentioned this to you guys off the air a while ago, but it's only become more true since then. I've just become absolutely obsessed with Face Off, the sci-fi makeup reality show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It looks super cool.
It's ridiculously fucking good, and I love it so much. And it's the dumbest reality show in history because
I doubt that.
No. By which I mean, like, it tries really hard, but the people are all too nice, and they're just really nice to each other the whole time. And, like, every time there's a piece of drama, it's almost instantly resolved, and everything is okay. And it makes me really happy.
It's like the editors are trying to make it into, like, edgier than it is. Is that what you're saying? But then everybody's just nice, and it actually doesn't
You can
work.
tell, like some of the challenges they come up with, the producers are trying to be like, will you please fucking start hating each other anytime now? And they're just like, nope.
Because for most reality shows, they can just hire actors and get them to do whatever they want. But for this, they had to hire people that actually knew what they were doing. They had to hire real people.
And they're so fucking good at what they do, and I love this show so much. I just had to share that.
Oh,
thank you.
So it's like the Great British Bake Off, but for faces.
It's almost like in order to do like sci-fi makeup and do all that stuff, you have to be really like disciplined and able to deal with unexpected problems without freaking out and like yelling at people.
Like collaborating with other people.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Obviously, Steven Universe, I've said it a million times, but it's so good. It's so good. The 5th season is almost over right now, and it's just like blowing my mind. It's the best show. Everyone in the world needs to watch it. That is all. Also, one thing that I'm going to mention, because it's something we're probably not going to get a chance to do on Smash Fiction, is that I played a lot of like indie video games and computer games and stuff. I'm really into Cuphead and Shovel Knight and a bunch of stuff like that. Super Meat Boy, all those ones. I've tried to see about maybe doing some of them as characters for League or for Bonus League, but I just don't think they're necessarily well known enough. And
you'd be surprised. Cuphead's very well known.
Huge, yeah.
Some of the stuff that I like that is just a little bit, I don't know if it's up to our standards for what we would include in an episode of Smash Fiction in terms of notoriety or not. Also, there's kind of not necessarily enough there for like, a match necessarily.
Days after this, Venture Brothers Season 7 will be coming out. That is all.
Matthias, thank you for sending in questions. They're all really, really good. I'm interested in process questions. There have been a lot of changes, minor and major, to Smash since episode 1. With everything you've learned about Smash Fiction and making the podcast, if you could go back to day 1 again, what would you do differently?
Oh boy.
I wasn't there on day 1. I was there on day 50.
I would teach the rest of you how to edit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I do think we made a lot of good decisions at the beginning in terms of setting up the format and creating something that could produce interesting episodes that are like fun to listen to and have a lot of momentum. And honestly, if I could change one thing about those early episodes, I would have us recording our own audio like we do now, instead of using a program to record our Skype calls. I think we had a lot of good episodes early on that are just real hard to listen to now entirely because of the audio quality.
If I could go back to the beginning, I mean, I wouldn't change anything about the first episode, obviously, because I won that one. And the second episode, I would change a lot.
What about the 5th episode, Claire? Would you change anything about episode 5?
I would change a lot about the 5th episode, Miles. But yeah, I just don't think we wrote as tightly back then. We just kind of had a bunch of notes and just kind of read it and didn't do as many like jokey things. And I think it just sort of had to evolve. Like, I think we do more work now on an episode than I did back then, just speaking for myself. I didn't do as much opposition research. I didn't like think of it from as many different angles. When you've just been like burned by weird arguments now, we're just a lot smarter about it. And so I think like if I went back in time with all the knowledge, I'd obviously do a lot better, but like it's just sort of knowledge you had to get in terms of how to like not only be good at winning matches, but be good at making interesting, funny things.
Oh, that's funny. I do less work now, but I think the fact that you do more work and I do less work really shows this season, doesn't it? I'm just tired. All right. I won last season. I'm fine. I'm happy.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. We don't have to end with this if we don't want to, because it might be a little bit negative, but I was interested in Adam Mayo's question. What's the worst piece of fictional media you've ever consumed?
Sucker Punch!
No, Monster A Go-Go.
Yeah, Monster A Go-Go for me, for sure.
Horrible movie. And like not in a fun way, just extremely boring and like, why did this get made?
Although, real talk, I did recently finish the entire Dark Tower series, and it gets real rough toward the end.
Why did you finish it?
Really?
Why?
Because I'm a completionist, Bob.
Oh no! Oh my god, are you okay?
The last few pages, or like the last page or so, I like a lot of the Dark Tower, but some of it's weirdly anticlimactic and kind of all over the place at the end.
We just recorded a live read last night. Natasha and I finished the book, the last book, and I read her the coda live on the air, and patrons were able to not only be there live, but watch the expressions on her face.
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, I won't spoil it, but there are some parts that she liked, and there are some parts that are really fun.
Miles, you read this one, so obviously you have some stuff in mind.
So I don't know if any of you have ever seen a movie that came out maybe like 10 years ago called The New World.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that was like the Pocahontas movie, right?
It's a piece of shit. Nobody fucking saw it, so nobody except me cares. But I actively resent the portion of my life that I spent watching that film.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's kind of my go-to. Beyond that, Game of Thrones season 5, and again, anything written by Frank Miller.
Man, Game of Thrones. You burned me real good repeatedly. I feel like some of those Nick Cage movies, some of those hurt. I'm sorry, G-Force?
G-Force is a delight.
I had to watch a female guinea pig get sexualized. Like, I can't go back from that. And I just have to
that is 100% on you, Claire. That is all
It is.
you.
Yeah, right.
It is. So the experience of me watching G-Force was probably different from everybody else, which was me going like, this is a surprisingly confident little rat guy.
Whereas the rest of us were experiencing.
You were pleasantly surprised by your character, which almost won that match, I might add.
I was. And so that made it better. But yeah, everything there's the white-coated guinea pig who's the normal everyman, and then there's the girl guinea pig who is, her entire personality is a girl, and then there's the black-coated guinea pig whose entire personality is that he is black. And those are the three main characters, and it's cool. That's great.
I remember thinking that was not the worst of the Cage movies that we had to watch for that match.
Are you gonna say something about Bangkok Dangerous, Kid?
What was the other one?
Gone in 60 Seconds.
I think that one was surprisingly boring.
What?
Oh my god.
Gone in 60 Seconds
You're
was
so wrong about that.
And Bangkok Dangerous was also kind of weak.
How? Yeah, it is. It's beautiful and delicate like a sad flower.
Well, you calling him Murder Snape was pretty great for me. I wish I was watching it with you.
Yeah, I fucking enjoyed most seconds of it.
I think the most negative reaction I've had to a piece of fiction, though, was the end of Mass Effect 3.
Oh.
Which
color ending did you choose?
Exactly, yeah. Which for me, it's just, there's this promise that I heard in interviews about Mass Effect and what it was going to be it's this giant saga, and it's all planned out, and all of your decisions, they will matter throughout it, and it can go in all of these different directions, and they promise in the first game, it's we know that it kind of all goes back towards a similar ending at the end of the first one and at the end of the second one, but that's because we still have to have a third game. And so the promise of the third game is, because there doesn't have to be another one, it can go off in all these different directions, and it'll pay off, and it'll all make sense, and you'll see all of these things that we've been setting up. And by the end of the third one, it's very clear they're just making it up as they go along, and they don't have a plan, and they ran out of time and money to give it a proper ending, and it just falls apart. And it's just it's a betrayal of having played those games for a decade up until that point, or however long it had been, but it felt like just years and years and years of building up and building up and building up, and then just that was the one that hit me the hardest.
And then Mass Effect Andromeda was just a slap on the face.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever read the Ender's Game books?
Yes.
So Ender's Game is great, and Speaker for the Dead is my favorite novel ever written. And the third book, Xenocide, is
trash.
It's insanely good until the last 100 pages, at which point it falls apart and becomes one of the worst books I've ever read in my life.
That's another slap in the face.
And looks like we have time for just one more, so we'll go with this one from Eugene Cho, who said, now that we are 30 episodes into Extraordinary League, what is, and there's a list of questions here. The first one is, the thing that you least expected to happen, but it fucking happened. I think a lot of the stuff with the last Grayskull arc really pulled the rug out of me in a really cool way, with Demona getting the power sword, and then us finding the She-Ra sword, and then the stuff with Flemeth and the Sorceress, and all those twists were one after another, very awesome, and really caught me off guard, and I liked those a lot.
How did I not see Godzilla coming as a predator? Dan wasn't letting me play Trenchcoat Godzilla from Marvel Comics.
We should say Trenchcoat Godzilla is a version of Godzilla that is about 12 feet tall who walks around disguised in a trench coat and a hat.
Yeah, and everyone falls for it. It's great. But I wanted to play that Godzilla, obviously. I'm Kit. Hi, nice to meet you. And Dan didn't let me, and I didn't think about why that could have been. Damn it.
Miles, does that mean that the white Praetor is going to be Jesse Custer?
It's entirely possible.
Is that the reason that Dan won't let you do it?
It's entirely possible.
I think the thing that I least expect to happen is just the stuff that Dante does on a monthly basis, become a spokesperson for Lunchables and fall in love with Morden and become a social justice warrior for Yoshi's. I would have never thought that would happen.
I mean...
Yeah, I'm consistently baffled by the fact that Luna now is genuinely very proud of the person Dante has become.
I mean, look, not to retread old territory, but I'm still not entirely sure how we ended up doing musical theater in the court of Westeros.
That was exactly what I was going to say, Miles. I was like, I had a crazy idea that we would be actors in a play and get into the castle. And then we actually did have to put on a play.
So, top 5 favorite thing I've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
Next question. The thing you would have done differently for your character, not in a regret way, but in, this would have been hilarious if it happened at the time way. Does anyone have any of those?
Kinda. We very briefly got to play some side characters in that Grayskull arc. Didymus and Finn Balor, etc., etc. And unfortunately, the big fight ended right after our cool A-team, or B-team rather, style tank busted out in order to save the day. So, oh man, I want more Didymus stunts. We ran out of time.
I don't know if this counts, but I had originally thought of having Princess Peach show up as a kick-ass Furiosa-style character when you guys met her in Mushroom Kingdom, but I eventually decided not to because I felt like it was really against her established character and also inherently suggested that traditionally masculine traits like being good at killing were superior to traditionally feminine traits like being emotionally supportive and empathetic. So
you made the right call.
So I instead tried to show her as being feminine and capable, as opposed to completely changing the way her character was.
We had a booty bump, damn.
If we had time, we would have to devolve into debating feminist theory right now.
Oh yeah, let's go. Let's not right now. Let's make that a bonus episode.
There we go.
My thing,
really gripping content.
My thing isn't hilarious, but I always wonder if Dante really took the power of Frostmourne and just went on a downward spiral of evil. How difficult it would have been for me to play that character.
I agree. It would be really it would kind of suck if anybody's character started to turn evil for some reason. I don't know if I would be really down with that, you know?
Yeah, sure. The next question is the 2 characters that you ship the most. Anyone, not just the main adventurers.
Oh my god, Dante and Mordana, duh.
I have complicated feelings about Dante and Morden and their dynamic.
Who's Morden?
And Claire just neuroshocked herself, so...
Indeed.
I feel like we all ship Elijah Snow and Titania now.
That was great. That was super great.
Oh, I didn't want to be the one to say it. I'm so glad you all said it.
I think that Demona Skeletor sex would be really weird and bizarre. And
please do not make me do that.
It would be randomly cobbled together from old shots from previous episodes of their respective animated series.
Oh no.
Miles, the Skeletor would pass out. He has 1 HP. He couldn't handle that shit.
Skeletor is a hero of the people. Thank you very much.
Weirdly, characters I've been shipping lately is Vivian and Luigi. After seeing that scene of them together, they were both really sweet. The little kind of forgotten side characters of Mario. They're both a little bit beaten down by the world, and I just thought there was something sweet about that scene they had together. So
Zelda and Buffy. Next question.
Last question. Fuck, marry, kill. Dante, Stitch, Morden.
Oh, no.
You picked those because they've been in the most episodes.
I mean, I think it's really obvious.
I think that fucking Stitch is not an option, first of all. He's both a child and a dog at the same time.
You definitely marry Stitch.
a dog child.
You fuck Dante and you kill Morden, thereby saving the human race.
I'm fine with potentially switching Stitch and Morden in that, but I don't know. Maybe that's just
You want
me.
to kill Stitch?
Okay.
Who are you, Liz?
I don't want to.
I was
fuck or
actually on
marry
the same
Stitch.
wavelength as Claire. I'm in agreement.
Well, we know you want to marry
Well,
Morden.
I think the more realistic outcome there is attempt to kill Stitch and then get thrown into the sun.
Right, yeah,
Is,
like-
is what that actually
I'm sorry that
turns
some
into.
of us have survival instincts.
Oh no, but like, what if you don't want to be married to Stitch?
I'm just saying, you come after Morden, the worst that's gonna happen is he's still gonna miss you with Incinerate, so...
Oh, Miles.
Was that
All right.
burn?
No, I missed.
Dante's hot, so you fuck him. Kill Morden. He's gonna die in like a year anyway. It's fine. And the state won't let you marry Stitch because he's not a people. It's fine. There you go. Boom.
Well, we never specified which state was allowing you to marry.
I said the state.
Well, which state?
Just the concept of nation states.
Every nation in the entire world goes.
That's fine.
Our hunter-gatherer ancestor said, all right, we need to establish a civilization just in case someone tries to marry Stitch.
I mean, elopement and anarchy go hand in hand, it seems to me.
Oh my god. Wait, are you ready to marry Stitch just so like you can destroy all government?
No, I'm ready to marry. There's a bunch of reasons I would want Stitch around for like my lifetime. The first and foremost being nobody would fuck with me. And like also that dude seems like a really good companion, man.
Except Stitch. Stitch would fuck with you all the
Well,
time.
yeah, that's fine.
I know. I was like,
trait.
I made
there
that
would be
choice.
a lot of messes that would need cleaning up.
That's
like,
fine.
I bet he'd give good cuddles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you imagine like how much you have to feed him?
Does he actually need to eat?
That's a good question.
I don't think that's ever been established. He certainly likes to.
We're all in agreement that we're fucking Dante, though, right? That's a universal truth.
yeah.
No question.
Yeah, I
No
guess because
question.
yeah, I guess.
You don't want to marry him.
Certainly not.
Oh no, absolutely not. And I also don't know that he can be killed very easily. Liz, how high is his health?
He's got lots of stamina, put it that way.
See, he's got stamina. That's more than enough reason.
There you go. And on that note, I think we're gonna call this episode of our 3rd anniversary to a close. Again, thank you to everyone who sent in questions. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to all of them, but
So many good ones.
yeah, keep your ear to the
So
ground for future
many.
episodes because we will definitely be coming back to this.
Yeah.
And we will be addressing
Yeah,
these
By
in
the
the
time
future.
we
We'll be
get
sprinkling them
by
in.
the time we get done with these, it'll be the 4th anniversary. So
Yes.
I mean, that was basically how it worked out last time, right? It took us quite a while to get through all
yeah,
of them.
and we
so-
have
Yeah.
more now. So
Well, great. We'll add them to the list.
All right. Happy anniversary, guys.
Happy anniversary.
Happy Smash anniversary.
Wait, hold on.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin McCleod of the Clan McCleod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Dan conveniently placing himself as second.
right at the top.
You got a better idea?
Yeah, because you can't put yourself first, because then everybody's going to call you out, but you just, conveniently put yourself second. I see.
Yeah, no, it's very clever. I would have put myself first and Dan last.
Right.
For no reason.
Also,
Whatever
Claire, thank you
order
for the
that
$50.
Yes. I thought you were going to introduce all of us by name and joining me is blah, and so I prepared a thing, but then I didn't get to say it. So
Well, now you gotta say it.
Right. Well, I was going to say that, like, I misunderstood what we were doing. I prepared for a match that was going to be Anna from Frozen versus the illness of severe acute respiratory infection.
Oh my god. If you had said that, you would not have been on the rest of the show. I would have demanded that you leave.
Dodged a bullet there, all of us.
My other choice for Sari, because that's a very hard one to get, or Sari, was there's Sari Furuya, who is a Japanese biathlete who competed in the 2018 Olympics.
Okay, some things were just not meant to be, Clay.